Hello and welcome to the latest episode of the Boardmasters with me, Chris Mullins. And today I want to talk about Massive Darkness 2 and specifically about why I cancelled my pledge. It's something I mentioned a number of weeks back in my Kickstarter backlog part 4, I believe, where I just highlighted that obviously I had cancelled my pledge on that back in January. And I guess the short answer would be VAT, which I know was an issue for a lot of people based in the UK and Europe like myself. But it's kind of a bit more complex than that, because it wasn't purely about the money of the VAT. So I'll just go in, start from the beginning of why I backed the game and work my way through. Because it's sort of a strange relationship that I had with Massive Darkness throughout, because initially it wasn't a game that really appealed to me in general. I wasn't too fussed on the art style, and I guess because I was still brand new to the hobby, I wasn't really sure about the gameplay as such. There were aspects like, I watched the gameplay video with Quackalape, and whilst I absolutely love the fact that each hero has their own sort of mini game to make the most of them, I love that, and I still do. The actual fact that you spawn a mob and then the mob just stands still while you chip away at it just seems like a waste. I mean, you've got these big dungeons that you set out, and then apart from the occasional roaming monster, you have a mob of 4, 5, 6 figures, and they all just stand there looking at you basically. And then you've got ranged characters, like there was an archer in there that was probably, I love playing an archer, so that was going to be my first character that I played. But then you've got your archer who stood halfway across the dungeon firing arrows at a mob who are carrying a knife, and they're countering the archer. And potentially they may have changed that now. I know there was talk of that during the campaign, but in the updates up to January, I may have missed that if they'd announced that already. But there was certainly aspects of the gameplay that I didn't like, and it was certainly something I wasn't planning on backing at the time. And then started watching a lot more of Board Game K's content, and Alex is the first person to admit, he said it in his videos many times, that he is a Come On fanboy and will always hype it up. And from a value perspective, he's absolutely right in that the games will go up in value initially after release, let alone maintaining their value. And so in terms of the value proposition, and whether it's a good back or a bad back, Come On games are a safe back. You're pretty much guaranteed to get your money back plus extra, particularly on the Kickstarter exclusive stuff. And that's what really swayed me as much as anything. And then some of the weirder art style expansions, like the ones with the evil Care Bears and unicorns and stuff, were so different that they started to really appeal to me. So even though I had a lot of misgivings about the game, the value and some of the art style and just the amount of content started to win me over. And then the FOMO kicked in hard. I mean, I went from a game that I had no plan of backing at all to a game that I went massive all in, $490. And I think looking back, I almost got more enjoyment out of the sort of ludicrous nature of the fact that I was able to say I've spent about £375 on a board game. Just that statement alone was so ludicrous, and sort of just made me smile every time I said it, that I think I almost got more enjoyment than I had excitement for the game itself, which is strange. And then I expected shipping to be big. It was, as I said, I went massive all in. I think there was something like 17 boxes of content in that, plus the sleeves, plus the quest organizer, etc. So I'd earmarked a 3-figure sum for the shipping, and that's basically what I got charged in the end. And I'll say it may well have been me. This video is in no way demonizing Come On. I'm not saying it's their fault or they tried to deceive people in any way, shape, or form. They may well have highlighted the VAT in one of the updates. I did read all of the updates from the point where I did back until the point I backed out, but it may have been in an earlier update during the campaign, or it may have been in an update September, October time, that by the time the pledge manager opened in January that I just clean forgotten about it. I know they said the game was customs friendly, but that is a very different fee and subject to VAT. So the fact, I know a lot of people in the comments were very upset that a customs friendly campaign was now charging VAT. They're completely separate. So again, that's not come on and trying to deceive anyone in any way, shape, or form. I just do think they needed to make it abundantly clear, and that VAT was going to be charged on top for UK and I believe EU backers as well, and they needed to be very clear with that just before the pledge manager hit, because me and everyone else who was unhappy about it opened the pledge manager having no idea this charge was going to be there. And you know, I opened the pledge manager expecting to pay, as I said, over £100 in shipping because the volume that was there, and then selected my pledge level, shipping charge came up $60, so about 40 quid, and I was over the moon. I was delighted, that was a bargain. And then click through to the next page and I'm getting charged 130 quid, I think it was. It's like, well, why am I being charged 130 quid when I've only been charged £40 in shipping? And hence there is that VAT charge. And it was, I think it was that high of the shipping being so much lower than I expected, and then being hit by this charge that I wasn't expecting, even though it was only 10-20 quid higher than I probably expected to pay and was willing to pay and happy to pay. It was like a punch in the gut, and I just couldn't, no matter how I tried to justify it to myself in terms of the value proposition, and you know, it's not much higher than what I expected to pay anyway, so is it really a big deal? I couldn't reconcile it with myself, and so I went ahead and cancelled the pledge. And even now, like when I recorded the part 4 of the Kickstarter backlog and highlighted Massive Darkness 2 on the screen, and they had the late pledge button there, it still tempted me, and I had to talk myself through the journey in terms of my misgivings with the gameplay and whatnot to give myself that excuse to walk away, because I actually in that same video was doing an update on why I'd cancelled my pledge for Cascadia, and they were still open for late pledges, and yeah, I gave in, went in and backed it again, because I do still think the game looks great and it's a good price point. But with Massive Darkness 2, I think in the end, although it was VAT, I think I was looking for an excuse to walk away, because it was the ultimate FOMO purchase. And you know, nothing against Come On, as one of the, I'll be doing a video next week in terms of the games I bought to replace Massive Darkness 2, and Zombicide Black Plague is one of those, and you know, got that retail for less than 50 quid, which begs the question of, you know, there's going to be so much content in that, why am I prioritizing these big fancy all-in bundles on Kickstarter instead of retail, which is going to be a video for the following week where I talk about that. So with that all being said, I'm going to leave it there. So thank you for watching, and if you have any comments or opinions, then please leave them down below, because as I said last week in my reaction to the video game adaptation reaction, I do want to engage in dialogue and conversation with you all. That's why I got into this community. That's why I started making content. I want to just build connections with people. It's the social aspect of board games that is why I've fallen so in love with it so fast. So I hope we're able to have a positive conversation down below. And yeah, so I'll leave it there. So thank you all for watching, and look after yourself, stay safe and have a good one. Bye bye now.